Outside last night's council meeting. Let's talk about it. My name is Lindsay Brown. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay guys, so if you want to go and watch the previous video there, I talked about what happened in the council meeting, and now I'm going to discuss outside the council meeting. So I'll discuss it before the meeting and after the meeting. So I showed up to go to the meeting, as I always do. There was some of the patriots there, and the police presence was insane. The security, it was the security company there, and loads of them, right? It was absolutely overkill, right? They had all these barriers up all around the place. From what I could see, they had situated it where the councillors were parking up in this area. And so say they're parking up here, normally they would walk down the front and go in. They had it situated where they could walk around the back and down, right? So they didn't have to pass the patriots that were standing there. By the way, the patriots that were standing there were good energy. Everybody having fun. Somebody was making a wee cup of soup. Loved it. Loved it. There was no need. There was no need for all of that. And actually, I spoke to other councillors afterwards. And they said as well that they didn't feel any need for it either, you know. So apparently Jerry Kelly was there. I said in my last video, I didn't see him. He didn't come into the actual council chambers, and we think he sneaked into a car and drove off, so I don't know what the point of him being there was. Maybe they'll share it with us, I don't know. So anyway, whenever I came out of the council meeting, you know, we were doing some of the lads had their cameras on, doing lives and all the rest of it. Cups of chicken and vegetable soup, which was absolutely amazing. You know, it's such good energy, it's such good fun. And I would say, in my opinion, about 60 to 70% of those councillors that were in that meeting last night all chilled out with us afterwards. 60% of them, right? If you've seen any of the videos, you could maybe look around. There's a wee bunch of people here, a wee bunch of people there, and you wouldn't even know who was the councillors and who was the patriots, right? Although those councillors would probably say they're patriots as well. But anyway, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to put words into anybody's mouths, but they all stood talking for about an hour, right? We all ended up leaving at the same time. Everybody was just standing chatting. We were sharing views, sharing opinions, discussing things. And one particular one I want to discuss right now that I was discussing with one of the councillors last night. And before I go any further, I did say that a lot of these councillors did tell me that they were very comfortable with us all, right? They didn't feel an issue with us all. They didn't feel afraid of us. They didn't feel that police presence, security presence, all the barriers up. They didn't feel there was a need for that, right? So anyway, one of the councillors had said to me that in his area, you know, that there was a few pensioners that were a bit intimidated by some men hanging around, but unfortunately they didn't phone the police to report it. So a lot of these incidences aren't being reported, so the police aren't aware of all this going on, and I get that, okay? I get it. Having said that, and this is what I said back to the councillor last night, you got to understand, no matter what community you're from in Northern Ireland, whether you're from the working class estates in Catholic areas or Protestant areas, you don't talk to the police, right? There's a lack of trust with the police. There has been for years and years and years and years, right? So when anything happens in our estate, it just wasn't natural for us. And I know both sides of our community, and I don't even like to call it both sides because we're all mixed now. But, you know, we do it for explanation purposes, I guess. Would all say that, right? We don't contact the police. It's who we are. Yes, we need to change that. I get it. If we want the police to help us with this, these unvetted men running around, then I guess, yes, we do need to change that. But the police also need to build that trust back up with us, and they're not doing a very good job of that at all. One, by putting on that presence that they did last night when there was no need for it. And I can't get into detail on this, but let me just tell you, there was 3 incidences last night with 3 different people that the police were bang out of order, right? Sorry, 2 incidences where the police were out of order, and another incident where, again, I can't get into it, but somebody was more or less knocked with a car, and I think that was one of the councillors. So I don't know how the police will deal with that, but we will see. I don't want to say too much on other people's, you know, it wasn't me, So, you know, hopefully more information will come out on this and we can see how the police are going to deal with that. But the police cannot expect to have our trust whenever they are dealing with situations the way they did last night. So they have a responsibility to build that trust back up with the public if they expect the public to start reporting things. Again, I know it's a bit of a, we need to report it, but they need to, you know, I get that it's not a straightforward scenario, and I get that, you know, incidences, I guess, do need reported. But when you know, right? When you know you're from Northern Ireland, right? It's just, it's the life we grew up in. It's the life we grew up in, not to contact the police. So, you know, we need to work on that. But like I say, they need to work on that trust issue as well. But all in all, a very, very good night. You know, lovely to see all the Patriots together. Lovely to see the councillors giving us their time and discussing and sharing opinions and sharing views. I'm not saying it's going to change anything right now, and I'm not trying to stick up for these councillors in any way, shape or form. But what we're asking for is open dialogue, and they're giving it to us, you know, and we, again, I'll always say credit where credit's due, and they deserve that credit for just getting in amongst everybody last night. You know, it didn't feel, apart from the Sinn Féin ones, who most of them hid away in their cars, and none of them were speaking, by the way, as far as I could see, were speaking to the public at all. They all just sort of sneaked away, the Sinn Féin ones, and I think a couple of the SDLP ones as well. But it was nice to see the other guys just out standing with us all, as if we were just all standing at a local park, chatting away. There was none of this where, you know, they were all together, we were all together, or anything like that. It was very, very mixed and good. So I think it was good progress. I think it was very good progress, and I think fair play to those councillors that did take the time. You know, they were probably wanting to be home straight after the meeting, and they didn't. A lot of them stood for, like I say, a good hour after the meeting, you know. So, listen, baby steps, I guess. You know, it's movement, it's communication, right? Communication is key. That is key, right? So now that they're starting to open up and speak to us more, it's definitely progress, and it's definitely positive. Thank you all so much.